Have you ever placed your trust in something only to later discover that it was an illusion, that what you thought was solid ground was nothing but shifting sand, that your eyes played tricks on you, your ears fed you lies, and your mind, desperate for certainty, constructed a reality that never existed? History is littered with the ruins of deception. Kingdoms have fallen not to armies, but to illusions. Men have marched to war over lies whispered in the shadows. Even the wisest philosophers, the greatest generals, and the most powerful emperors have at times been blind to the truth that was right before them. In a world overflowing with half-truths, carefully crafted narratives, and manipulated realities, one of the greatest skills you can develop is this: the ability to question, to look beyond appearances, to understand that what is presented as truth is often a carefully woven deception. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius himself warned that the mind must be disciplined, that we must train ourselves to see beyond the surface, to separate illusion from reality. Before we continue, take a moment to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Because in a time when deception is more powerful than ever, the ability to think critically may be the only thing that truly sets you free. 1. The illusion of perception. Your senses are powerful, but they are far from perfect. What you perceive is not reality itself, but a mere interpretation of it, filtered through your experiences, biases, and emotions. The mind, eager for certainty, constructs a version of the world that is often more fiction than fact. What you see is not always the full picture. What you hear is not always the truth. And what you think you know may be nothing more than an illusion. Consider one of history's greatest deceptions, the fall of Troy. The Greeks, after a decade of futile battle, did not conquer their enemy through sheer force, but through the mastery of illusion. They built a magnificent wooden horse, a supposed gift of surrender, and left it outside the gates of Troy. To the Trojans, weary from war and eager to believe in victory, it seemed like a symbol of divine favor. But within the hollow structure, Greek warriors lay in wait. Under the cover of night, they emerged, opening the gates for their comrades. And just like that, Troy was reduced to ashes, not by an army, but by misplaced trust. Now turn this lesson inward. How many times have you misjudged a person based on their appearance? How often have you believed a story simply because it was told with confidence? The human mind is wired for shortcuts. It craves easy explanations, simple narratives, and quick conclusions. But history has shown us time and time again that the truth is rarely on the surface. Julius Caesar learned this the hard way. He trusted his closest allies, men who had fought beside him for years, believing that their loyalty was unshakable. Yet, on the Ides of March, they proved otherwise. Brutus, the man Caesar considered a son, stood among his assassins. Et tu, Brute, were his final words, not just an expression of betrayal, but a realization that even the most trusted perceptions can be false. The world is filled with Trojan horses, deceptions disguised as opportunities, manipulations presented as kindness, and enemies who wear the mask of friendship. The wise man does not accept things at face value. He looks deeper, he asks questions, he sharpens his mind because he knows that seeing is not always believing. So I ask you, how many illusions have you accepted as truth? And more importantly, how many will you continue to believe? 2. When words become weapons. History has proven time and time again that words hold immense power, not because they always carry truth, but because they shape what people believe. A blade can wound a man, but words can destroy nations. A sword may kill one leader, but words can turn entire empires against him. Look no further than ancient Rome. Julius Caesar, one of the greatest military minds of his time, did not fall in battle. He was not slain by a foreign enemy or outmaneuvered by a rival general. His downfall came from whispers in the shadows. The Roman Senate, fearful of his rising influence, began to spread a single, dangerous idea. Caesar seeks to be king. There was no concrete proof, no visible coronation, no crown upon his head, just words. But words were enough. They took root in the minds of his peers, sowed doubt, bred fear, and in time became justification for his assassination. Now step into the modern world. Lies no longer travel by messenger or parchment, they spread instantly, amplified by the digital age. A single rumor, a carefully crafted deception, can ruin a person's reputation in moments. It does not need to be true, it only needs to be repeated. The truth is often quiet, requiring patience and reason to uncover, but lies are loud. Lies are designed to trigger emotion, to manipulate perception, to spread like wildfire, while the truth struggles to keep pace. Consider how many great figures in history have been vilified not by their actions, but by the narratives woven around them. Socrates was sentenced to death because he was accused of corrupting the youth, an accusation built on fear, not evidence. Joan of Arc was burned at the stake, labeled a heretic through political slander. Even Nikola Tesla, a genius ahead of his time, was pushed into obscurity because powerful voices controlled his legacy. And so I ask you, how many things do you believe simply because you have heard them repeated? How many reputations have you accepted as ruined without ever questioning the story behind them? Wisdom does not belong to those who simply listen. It belongs to those who listen carefully. The noise of the world will always be deafening, but the wise man learns to hear what others ignore, because just because you hear it everywhere does not mean it's true. And just because a lie is loud does not mean the truth is silent. 3. The mind's greatest trap. Have you ever questioned the very nature of reality? Have you ever stopped to wonder if the world you see is merely a reflection, an illusion carefully constructed by your own mind? Plato's allegory of the cave offers one of the most powerful lessons on human perception. Imagine prisoners chained inside a dark cave since birth, facing nothing but a wall. Behind them burns a fire, casting shadows of objects they have never truly seen. To them, these flickering silhouettes are reality itself. They know nothing of color, depth, or the vast world beyond the cave's walls. Then one prisoner breaks free. For the first time, he steps outside and sees the real world, vast, vibrant, and blindingly bright. Overwhelmed, he rushes back to tell the others, believing they too will want to experience the truth. But instead of celebrating his discovery, they mock him. They reject his words. They cling to the only reality they have ever known, the shadows. This is the greatest trap of the mind, comfort in ignorance. People believe what is familiar. They resist anything that threatens their existing worldview. And the more comfortable a lie feels, the harder it is to abandon. It is easier to live in the illusion than to step into the unknown. Look at history, and you will see this pattern repeated endlessly. Galileo was condemned for challenging the belief that the Earth was the center of the universe. His discoveries were met not with curiosity, but with fear. The truth threatened the foundations of power, so it was dismissed as heresy. Nelson Mandela was labeled a criminal for opposing apartheid, though history later recognized him as a visionary. The greatest minds, the ones who dared to question, who dared to seek truth, were often met with resistance, not applause. Now look at your own life. How many beliefs do you hold simply because they feel safe? How many ideas have you dismissed, not because they were wrong, but because they challenged you? Growth does not happen in comfort. It happens in the willingness to question, to unlearn, to break free from the chains of familiarity. The world outside the cave is vast, but few have the courage to step into it. Be one of the few. Do not mistake comfort for truth. Do not let familiarity become your prison. Because the greatest trap of the mind is not deception, it is the refusal to see beyond the shadows. The power of critical thinking. The Stoics built their philosophy on an unshakable foundation. Control your mind, or others will control it for you. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest philosopher kings, understood this deeply. In his personal reflections, now known as meditations, he wrote, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." These words were not just observations, they were a warning that the world is filled with distortions, narratives designed to manipulate, and voices that seek to control rather than enlighten. Consider the world we live in today. Social media bombards you with carefully curated content, designed not to inform, but to influence. Politicians craft speeches not to reveal truth, but to shape perception. Advertisers spend billions ensuring that you desire what they sell, not because you need it, but because they have made you believe you do. Everywhere you turn, someone is fighting for your attention, your belief, and ultimately, your submission. The question is, will you passively accept, or will you dare to think for yourself? History is filled with examples of societies that thrived when critical thinking was valued, and those that crumbled when it was abandoned. The Renaissance, one of the greatest intellectual awakenings in history, was born from men who questioned dogma, who sought knowledge beyond what was dictated to them. Yet, in stark contrast, Nazi Germany rose on propaganda on a population that, rather than questioning, followed. Ideas, when left unchallenged, have the power to either liberate or enslave. So how do you protect yourself from deception? How do you train your mind to resist manipulation? The answer is simple, but difficult. You must unlearn before you can truly learn. Question everything. Do not accept easy answers. Do not assume something is true simply because it is widely believed. Dig deeper, seek contradictions. Follow reason, not emotion. The ability to think critically is not just a skill, it is a shield, a weapon, and a path to wisdom. The truth is rarely handed to you. It is rarely simple, and it is almost never what you expect. It must be sought, uncovered, fought for. Most people will live their entire lives believing in illusions because it is easier than questioning them. But you have a choice. You can open your eyes, you can take control of your own mind, because the moment you stop thinking for yourself is the moment someone else starts thinking for you. 5. How to see beyond the illusion. If history has taught us anything, it is that deception thrives where ignorance prevails. Illusions have shaped wars, destroyed civilizations, and manipulated entire generations. But while most fall victim to these distortions, a few, those who seek wisdom, develop the ability to see through them. The question is, will you be one of the many who are deceived, or one of the few who see the truth? Breaking free from deception requires effort. It demands a mind trained in discernment, a will strong enough to resist the comfort of easy answers, and a relentless pursuit of knowledge. Here's how you do it. 1. Question everything. Do not accept anything at face value. Just because something is widely believed does not make it true. Just because it is repeated does not make it fact. Seek proof. Challenge assumptions. Ask why, and then ask why again. Truth withstands scrutiny. Deception crumbles under it. 2. Think independently. History is littered with examples of the masses believing in illusions only to be proven wrong. The earth was once thought to be flat. Doctors once bled patients to cure disease. The wisest minds in history were often those who dared to think differently. Do not fear standing alone in pursuit of truth. 3. Observe without emotion. Emotions are powerful, but they cloud judgment. anger, fear, and desire all warp perception. The Stoics believed that to see reality clearly, one must remove emotion from observation. Train yourself to see things as they are, not as you want them to be. 4. Read and learn. Knowledge is the weapon that destroys ignorance. Read history, philosophy, science. Expand your mind. The more you know, the harder it is to be deceived. A man who does not read lives only one life. A man who reads lives 1,000. 5. Stay humble. The greatest deception is believing you already know everything. The moment you think you have all the answers is the moment you stop seeking truth. The wisest men in history, from Socrates to Marcus Aurelius, understood this. True wisdom begins with acknowledging how little you truly know. History has shown that those who think critically survive. Those who don't, they become pawns, easily manipulated, led by those who understand the power of illusion. The world is full of lies, distractions, and carefully constructed narratives, but truth is always there, waiting for those brave enough to seek it. So the question is, are you willing to open your eyes, awakening from the illusion? You were born into a world crafted not by truth, but by perception. From the moment you opened your eyes, you were fed ideas, beliefs, and assumptions, not all of them real, all of them meant to enlighten you. Society teaches you what to believe before you even learn to think for yourself. It hands you a script, expecting you to follow without question. But the question remains, will you wake up? Will you challenge the illusions that have shaped your reality? Will you dare to question what others blindly accept? Will you have the courage to seek truth, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it isolates you? Or will you remain in the cave, staring at shadows, mistaking them for reality, never realizing that a greater world exists beyond the walls that confine you? The choice is yours. History favors those who think for themselves. The strongest minds, Socrates, Aurelius, Da Vinci, were those who refused to be controlled by illusion. And now, in this era of mass distraction and deception, the need for clear thinkers has never been greater. If you have made it this far, you already possess something rare, the desire to see beyond the lie. If you found this video insightful, do your part in spreading wisdom. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. Because in a world built on illusions, seeking truth is an act of rebellion. And spreading truth, that is the greatest act of defiance.